So now I'm going to. Okay, Brian's on his way in. Okay.
Do you have the tape rolling?
Yep, tape's rolling.
Okay. I'd like to welcome everybody to the November 3rd Planning and Zoning Board meeting in Milford. If we could have the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag,
United States
of America,
to the republic
to the republic for which it stands,
one
one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, great. Meg, if you would please call the roll.
Mr. Moore and Mr. Zaharides are excused. Ms. Austin? Present. Mr. Castagnoli?
Here.
Mr. Cater?
Present.
Mr. Collegian?
President.
Ms. Kearney?
Here.
Mr. Mortimer?
Present.
Mr. Sadi?
Present.
And Chairman Quish.
Present.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a quorum. Plus, first order of business is new business, 57 Shell Avenue, Zone R75, petition of Codispodi and Associates PC for a coastal area site plan review to construct a single-family residence at map 27, block 444, parcel 9, of which Randy J. Silverman is the owner. The applicant has the floor.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. For the record, Kevin Kersaden. My office is at 3 Lafayette Street in Milford. Here on behalf of the owner, the architect, and the engineer. This property, 57 Shell Ave, is located in R75 zone. There is currently a house slated for demolition if this is approved. The proposed house will obviously replace that house. It's the proposed house would be back between about 9 to 11 feet on average, pulled further away from the street than the existing house. If you've been by the existing house, it's pretty close to the street. This will be pulled further back, and it'll be slightly bigger than the existing house. However, it meets all of the zoning regulations and requirements, and it's been reviewed by DEEP with a couple of sets of revisions responsive to DEEP, in addition to Mr. Sulkus's review. Mary Rose and Inland Wetlands has made a jurisdictional ruling. They don't have any interest. There's no inland wetlands within 100 feet. And the proposed project is compliant with the flood hazard regulations for the city of Milford, and DEEP has no further comments. We've revised the plans to be responsive to all of DEEP's comments. So it's a single family house replacing a single family house that's a little bit further back from the street, and a bigger house than exists now. That's it, pending your questions.
Okay, you want to just scroll through the drawings for us, just briefly?
Sure.
Yeah, we don't need the details, just
I'm just repositioning it. That's the survey.
Yep. Yeah, the current house is 2.5 stories, and the proposed house is also 2.5 stories. The half story is space in the attic, living space in the attic. And the proposed house also has a garage where the current house does not have a garage.
okay. Great, thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the board?
Good question. I have some questions for Attorney Kersaden, please.
Go ahead.
Thank you. One of the reports we had, Attorney Kersaden indicated that the plan set sheets were not signed nor sealed. They have now been, has that been taken care of?
Yes, the signed and sealed have been delivered to zoning, and I believe Mr. Podluski. The reason for that, Mr. Sadi, is that our engineers errors and omissions carrier does not allow them to sign and seal plans that are going to be, scanned PDFs. So they have to be real original copies or originals, hard copy. So that's been resolved.
No further questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, I'd hear a motion.
The question, Mr. Sadi here, I move to approve as presented. The petition of Carter and Associates PC for a coastal area site plan review to construct a single-family residence at map 27, block 444, parcel 9 of which Randy J. Silverman is the owner, with no conditions.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Castagnoli. First up, motion and second. Any discussion of the motion? Seeing none, Meg, if you would call the roll, please.
Ms. Austin,
With the motion.
Mr. Castagnoli,
Yes.
Mr. Cater,
with the motion,
Mr. Collegian,
With the motion.
Ms. Kearney,
with the motion,
Mr. Mortimer,
With the motion.
Mr. Sadi,
The motion.
and Chairman Quish.
I am with the motion. Okay,
Thank you.
motion passes. Good luck with your project.
Thank you.
Okay, next order of business is a public hearing closed by January 7th, vote by February 11th. For Oxford Road, petition of Fernando Pastor for a special exception to allow live-work units at map 102, block 702, parcel 4D1, 4D3, 47, and 48, of which David E. Barnes is the owner. The applicant has the floor. James, you'd have to unmute. If you hover your cursor over your picture, you should see a mute or unmute button on the right-hand corner.
Thank you.
Yep, you got it.
Thank you. My name is James Sakonchik, and I am the engineer and land surveyor working on this project together with Fernando Pastor. And I hope to be able to share my screen.
Right ahead.
Okay. Let's see. Share a screen. Do you have to accept the share?
Let me double check here. It should be all set for you to do it, but let me double check. You can share.
Okay. Share a screen. Trying. Oh, select the window you wish to share. Okay, I just did that. Let me know if you can see a picture
Nope,
of a building.
we see nothing. So you have to, when you click your share screen, then you click on the screen that you want to share.
Okay. Click on my share screen.
Yeah. And then it should ask you, what do you want to
Share
share?
screen.
Yeah.
And
then
this one.
Yeah, it's not working.
Hey, James, David can share his screen with the drawings and
Oh,
you can
here we
just
go.
switch it where you want to go. Oh, there you go.
Okay, I think I have achieved it.
Mhm.
And hopefully you can see a picture of Rose Studios.
Yep.
Yes. Excellent, excellent. Just quick pictures of the nature of the facility. As you can see, this building is brick. It was built approximately in the 80s, and it is a commercial condominium. I also like you to note how this building steps down as it goes along the length. There are a great deal of changes of elevation as it goes down. So, for example, right here, you can see at the roof how it steps and steps again. I bring this up to highlight the fact that these units are well suited to smaller users. Over here, Rose Studios is a unit where the rose is a dividing wall potential. And here is a second unit. So we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4 of 10 units in this building. There's another building with about 5 units. Now, what we want to do is take advantage of these steps to try to break this up into individual units. And where there is a drop in grade, right where this car is parked, is kind of straddling a 2-foot drop. The distance from this building to this building. By the way, can you see those circles when I press this?
Mhm.
Thank
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to put a raised bed over here. We did look into the possibility of doing lower rain gardens in these areas, but due to the existing grade, see how steep it is going down towards the center of the driveway, together with the cross grade, it did not have enough water really going to that, and the fear that it might create a trap for people backing out and stuff. We could do rain gardens, but I do think a raised bed things, it would break up this bituminous frontage. It would add a planting area that these residences can call their own. And it would blend in with the intent of the type of person. My son was one of them. He basically studied jazz guitar. He was teaching. He was being creative with his music. And he had friends who he went to school with who are artists. In fact, his wife is a landscaper doing high-end gardens for restaurants in New York City. 2 examples of just the type of people who would be interested, particularly when they're right out of school. He also went to a conservatory where his friends have interests. His best friend from youth is a sculptor. He has other friends that one is just got an Emmy for opera. So it is that artistic type of grouping. Now, let's see if I can go to these plans right over here. Now, this is the overall site. Let me highlight it. Okay, and of that overall site, this building right over here and this building over here are the ones we would like to now convert to this live work unit type concept. And you know, I want to make clear that we're here for a special exception tonight to get approval for the live work units. We're looking for approval for this new use in this commercial zone. If this is approved, we understand that the staff, planning, engineering, and others would want us to go into additional details on this, which we accept an approval with such a condition. We have to keep those guys happy. And if approved, these plans will be enhanced to meet all the requirements of the Milford staff and construction plan approval by planning, engineering, building department for landscaping, lighting, fences, wall constructions, outside, and fit up for plans for inside. This will include clear details of the separation of the work area from the smaller living area. This separation line will be enforceable to prevent the units from becoming all living space. It is noted that a building permit will be required for all interior modifications, and such building permit will be denied if the permit is to increase living space. It is my understanding and experience that departments, particularly the fire department, has the right to enter commercial space for verification of fire protections and conformance to the codes. Many towns do this on an ongoing basis. I know I have commercial space, and the local fire department comes in about once every 3 years and makes sure we have our fire extinguishers and other safety things in working order. We're happy to accept that right on these units so that the town would have the ability to enforce the live-work zoning approval and that it isn't being abused. Our plans include a lot of thoughts of making it more friendly, trying to change the stark areas by incorporating, as noted, gardens in front of the various units, particularly where they have a change in elevation. You can see how we have different ideas of the planting beds for the raised planting beds, which we will work with staff on. Let me find another page. So you can see here we have preliminary architectural plans, and in particular, we are, see if I can zoom in here. So there will be dividers for the office and for the workspace, and flexible rooms that could be workspace, but also leaving the bedrooms and kitchens to minimal areas. And these preliminary floor plans will, of course, be updated to meet the requirements of staff. These are our areas. Again, this plan highlights the fact that how these buildings step down and how we're going to try to take advantage of that to have a better, what we think, more suitable use for it. So, this is our concept here, taking advantage of the raised beds and the breaking up of this extensive parking area into parking and landscaping, and ideas for the interior. As engineer, I have been working on this site. The two shaded buildings are the ones for a special permit tonight, just these two buildings. And it's showing the garden areas. And it has been, all the engineering has been verified by me that everything is current and functional. And I might add that hopefully we'll put in the record the engineering department today dealing with Greg. He has confirmed that I through my engineering, have satisfied comments he made in his memo of August 10th, 2021. And I accept his comment that if he thinks of anything else, we'll try to make him happy. We will make him happy. That is my presentation, and I look forward to any questions.
Great, thank you very much. Are there any questions or comments from the board at this time?
I do.
Hi, Peg.
Hi. Could you please just explain the layouts of each of the units and what has to be done to make them livable?
Okay. The first thing that has to be done is the buildings have to be sprinklered. That is a very important facet. These buildings right now do not need sprinklers because people aren't sleeping in them. Once we change to residential, we're going to meet the requirements of the fire department, and that requirement includes the need to do sprinklers. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to take a portion of the unit to be worked out with staff, but most likely the rear portion of the unit in this area back here would have the kitchen, bathroom, bedroom. And the front portion of the unit with a separating wall. There's going to be a dedicated wall separating the front from the back, so that we know where the residential area is and where the workspace is, with an enforceable dividing wall, so that if this wall is removed, it needs a building permit. And if it is removed without obtaining a building permit, hopefully the fire department, through normal inspections, will find that out and get that corrected. And we certainly would be making anybody who occupies these spaces will be given clear notice as to how they have to keep the living space separate and distinct from.
Okay, Jim, I got Fernando here. He's the architect of file. He says that we should pull up the other sheet showing the layout, and it's
I'd be
clearly
happy to do
defined what
that.
needs to be added.
Okay, you need to identify yourself, Dave.
I'm David Mariso, one of the people that filed the project. This is Fernando.
And Fernando Pastor here. So Jim goes to the first drawing that shows the existing condition.
One more. There.
That one there. So that's existing condition now. This is a one unit that we are trying to separate it in half. So you see there's two bathrooms, but there's just one office unit. That's one. We will convert one of these in two of the living work. So go to the next picture drawing there. That shows two different units. The end unit is a two-story unit. So you go downstairs, it has the work area, the bathroom, the kitchen, and the living room. And then you go upstairs and you have two bedrooms. That's only in the two ends of the building. In the two ends, the left and west side, you're going to see that. If you see the elevation, let's just go next.
I did see that, but there are going to be two bedrooms upstairs in those two units
Yes,
and not one downstairs.
and nothing downstairs. Yeah, that's downstairs is the living space and the working space.
Okay.
And then the second unit, the unit to the right, is a one-bedroom unit. The bedroom is on the back with a little office, then the kitchen and the living room in the center, and the work area in the front with the bathroom. And those units are separated by screens and sliding doors that are heavy. And you see there's a screen there. There's a fixed wood screen, says there in the note, and a sliding door. And yeah, exactly, that's it. So those are physical barriers that you cannot just take down. The sliding doors you can open, so this is integrated, the space is integrated, but it's not completely enclosed.
So the bathroom is in the work area?
The bathroom is at the front, where is that's an existing bathroom. What we're doing is adding that shower there. the existing bathroom doesn't have the shower and the mechanical room, so we are adding that space from the lobby area. And then the living space is in the center, and then the bedrooms are on the back. Yes.
And, okay, it's 1,000 square feet?
800 to 1,000. Some of them are a little bigger, a few feet here and
The
there.
1,000 is the one that has the 2 floors. Is
Okay.
1,600 actually, right? I don't read it. Yeah. Yeah, they're big enough units for a couple or one artist. They're not family friendly, let's say. This is more geared to the artists and the professionals that want to work from home. What I want to stress is that the live work idea is not novel. The live work is the way that all the cities in the world has been started. What is new is the separation of uses in planning that is from the 50s and the 60s, and we keep that zoning codes now, but basically we're trying to replicate what is usually in every town and city in the world, is that you work and live in the same place. And especially after COVID-19, that's having proved to be what the reality is. People want to work from home, but they don't have the facility to work from home. So that's why we're proposing this use in this industrial area. That is, we require the special exception because residential is not a use in an industrial area. And the other thing that I want to stress is that by reducing the number of cars, putting these gardens there, we create a much better environmental background to the site. If you see, Jim, can you show pictures of the existing conditions now? That this is like an asphalt parking lot with buildings in the middle, instead of being a more friendly, environmentally friendly space that has plants and trees. See, that's what it is there. It's just basically parking spaces in front of a building.
So it's 1 parking spot per unit?
There's going to be 1.5, yeah, actually 2, because there's plenty of parking in this space. There's parking on the back, there's parking on the side. There's a lot more parking that we need if it is a live work, because this is geared to the office. So for the office use, you need a lot more parking than what you need for the live work.
There's gonna be 2 spaces per unit in between each planter. So you're gonna have 2
Okay,
sets
that
of
was
planters.
my question. Yeah, that was my
Tuesday.
question.
Yeah,
And the parking for, let's say if you have a guitar place and you have people come in, where is that parking? In the back?
we have a lot more parking in the back of the site and across this area. There's a lot of parking. And there's a few parking
Jim,
spots behind
can
it.
you put the survey or the site plan to show all the parking areas?
I think it's page 1, right?
You see the parking behind the buildings?
Yes.
Yeah, there's plenty of parking at this location. I think we had, what, 250 spots or something? It said it on the survey. And then you got a whole row of parking right across that unit.
Thank you.
So that example that you showed, I believe it said it was 40% is the office space. Is that consistent with all the units, or
Yeah, they're all gonna be identical. So the goal is that they're gonna be followed one another.
except the 2 end units, correct?
Yeah, there are 2 types. Yeah, each type has a different percentage of square footage dedicated, because the unit has the second floor, has more square footage dedicated to the residential than that's the one that has like 20%. You see, it's 20% the left side, the 40% is the right side.
Can I ask a question? This is Jim Cater.
Ed.
A couple times you brought up about artists living quarters. I particularly like that idea, but is there something that you're going to have requirements for people who live there have to be an artisan of some sort, or What is the plan on that?
Well, I don't think that we can discriminate on that sense, but we're gonna market to that population. But we're gonna just say this is only artists, but we can market definitely to those folks.
It's not only defined for artists, it's also for, architects, engineers, anybody like a lawyer that works from home. Anybody that has some type of small business, we're not talking about a guy with, 100 employees, somebody that's gonna work from home, which, like Fernando himself works from home, so, we got plenty of people that work from home.
So I would love to live in a place that I can have a big office instead of just, I have a one room in my house dedicated to my office. This is like a whole area.
Yeah, and here, there's still a designated space where you can meet people. It's not only like, oh, I have one office in my apartment that you could come, here it's like a front area where you have that glass aluminum door. Somebody could walk in, you can meet them in a living, some type of, work area where they could sit down and have a meeting.
Yeah, and someone can be on the living room on the other side of that sliding door without being interrupted.
Okay, any further questions or comments from the board? Yep, Joe.
Mr. Chairman, yes, I noticed on the summary form that the fire marshal denied this. Dave, do you know why he denied this?
I believe that was early on in the review process, because, and we can pull up the sheet, but I believe, it was not sprinkled at the time. So I think Dave and Fernando.
Yeah, I can speak about that. The fire marshal didn't show sprinkler drawings at the time because we don't have the sprinkler drawings until we get this approval. So, but we designated a space. We already have for the sprinkler mechanical system, and we also have noticed that there's already fire lines inside the site, so we can connect to the hydrants that are close by. Jim, if you go to one of the floor plans for the whole building, at the right side, at the end, there's the sprinkler room.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah, you go
Top right corner.
top right corner of this drawing.
There's like a little box out on the right side of the building.
You just move your cursor right. Yeah, there you go.
Right,
Yeah,
up.
yeah, up. Yeah, there you go. So that is sprinkler room there, and the hydrant is like 100 feet from there.
No, 50, not even.
Well,
50 feet.
yeah, somewhere there. So yeah, if we get this approval, we have to present a full building department presentation, and that will have the sprinkler drawings. That was the fire marshal concern, basically.
Okay, Dave, have we allowed this exception in any other property in this city?
You're talking about the type of use that they're asking for?
Yes, that exactly, yes.
No, this would be the first to allow residential in the LI zone.
Okay. Let me ask Mr. Pastor if he knows of any other city in this state which has allowed this.
Yeah, yes, New Haven has live work units. Manchester, I think it is. There's a document at the front of this presentation that has a list of the cities that they have this in Connecticut, and this is a up and coming use that in many other cities are already approved. In San Francisco, the big cities, they have this live work, and as I said before, this is how all the cities were formed before. You walk in New York, you see the live work units everywhere. You go to Europe, every building has living facilities above storage on the ground floor.
I know, but specifically, there are other cities in Connecticut that do
Yeah.
allow this.
Yeah, I said that.
Well, I think really the question to be more specific is in what is a light industrial zone or equivalent in other cities. Obviously, the concept is, live work is common, but changing the direction of light industrial is, I think, specifically what Mr. Castagnoli is interested in. If I am correct, Joe.
So
Yeah.
one of the reasons why we chose this site was because the live work zoning rules allow already for a caretaker, someone to live on site. So this is not a new concept where we're saying, hey, nobody's ever had the permission to live on site, just regular residential use is prohibited. So the reason we chose this was because the live work, you know, somebody that's officially responsible and the caretaker of this zone or this, you know, the property is legally allowed to live on site. We're just asking to say, okay, if they already allow somebody that works and lives on the same site to live on the site, we're saying is, why don't we expand on that site and say, hey, the people that work here should be able to live on there. It's not a foreign concept to this zone. So the light industrial allows for somebody that works and takes care of the property to live on the property.
Well,
I don't know.
that's a very specific use, okay?
Agreed.
I'm asking, in other cities, have they allowed this exception on light industrial?
Oh, not that I know. I know that there's
Okay,
live work somewhere else, but not a change of use like this. But
okay.
we did change of use of light industrial to residential in specific sites. For instance, in New Haven, I did one on Foster Street that it was a light industrial area, and we converted the whole area into residential.
And where was that, Mr. Pastor?
In New Haven.
In New Haven,
in-
okay.
In Foster Street, it was a whole block that was a light industrial where the Lehman Brothers printing company was
Hello.
installed.
So I pulled up this claim. Hold on, let me turn off my speakers here. I was listening to a zoning meeting. So I pulled up the charge back that
Who is this?
corresponds to
Who's that speaking?
777777777.
David,
I got it.
I'm sorry. This is a public hearing and I will invite the public to speak in a few minutes after the board has made some inquiries. And then you will be able to either wave your hand or be able to electronically indicate that you'd like to speak, and you will be accommodated with that opportunity. But please don't just interrupt. Thank you. Joe, were you?
I'm all set. Okay, it has been done in New Haven. Okay,
Okay.
Mr. Pastor?
Joseph, I know because I was involved in that particular process, that in a whole block that was a light industrial area in New Haven, we changed it to residential. But I think it's a slightly different thing than what we're trying to do here. We're not changing the zone, we're just adding one use to the zone.
A special exception. Okay.
Right.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions or comments from the board?
Yeah, can I ask a
Please,
question?
Yep, go
After
ahead.
Mr. Cater, I'll talk. Thank you.
Okay, so this is light industrial. So is there concern if this is allowed and other spaces start doing this, we're gonna run out of areas for actual light industrial? Is that a concern, or how is light industrial zones? Are they being utilized up to potential, or maybe they're fading out and not being used as much? I'm not sure how well they're being used or utilized. Is this going to be maybe a good transition, or is this going to inhibit light industrial growth? Anybody have any input, like maybe David or something on that?
I don't know how to answer that because we have so.
Yeah, let's let David have it.
I was just going to say, we have a lot of industrial property in the city that's zoned light industrial. Each property may have its own characteristics. They're not probably all comparable. But the Woodmont Road area, off of Woodmont Road, you have a lot of this type of industrial where you have the one-story unit, like this. Are they well utilized? I mean, I could say yes, only in that we have an application coming before the board probably by the end of the year where someone wants to add more of this type of use in the city. That's all I have to go on. If you talk to different property owners, again, depending on what the nature is of the business and the property, some are probably better utilized than others. But it's something that we haven't studied. And I brought this up actually in the past with one of the largest property owners in the city who develops these. And did they want to look at changing the zone for something like residential? And at that time, and this was years ago, there was no interest, and no one has come before us to change the zone to a different use. This actually would be the first application where someone has asked.
So David, to clarify, there is somebody that wants to take existing property and turn it into like office, warehouse, condos or rentals, sort of like you're talking about on Woodmont Road?
Yes, we have an application coming up for a property that you're aware of, 990 Naugatuck Avenue. That is currently about to be circulated. So they're looking probably to come before the board, if not before the end of the year, then at the.
But not residential, just storage and office.
Yeah, yes, the typical LI use, the typical type of building and use that we have seen
Right.
Throughout the LI zone.
Okay, thank you.
I have one more question.
Yes, please.
David, is Quirk Road one of the ones that you're thinking about with?
Yeah, Research Drive, Cork
Yeah.
Road, all through there. That's all LI.
And that's, I mean, that butts up right across the street from residential, doesn't that?
Yeah.
I'm just thinking Quirk Road.
Yeah, every zone of every type has
Yep.
some other zone.
Butting up against it.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Just a question, if I could ask some questions, please.
Go ahead.
Thank you. This is for the engineer, and I'm trying to look at your plans. It looks like you have 5 buildings. Would you confirm the number of buildings that are at issue?
This is James Okoncha. Can you hear me?
I can
Yes.
hear you, just the numbers, all I need.
Okay, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 buildings and we.
Okay, thank you. And then, and
The
as
5.
far as the 5 buildings, how many of them are going to be dwelling units of those 5 buildings? How many dwelling units?
In the 2 buildings that
Just the
were
total number, sir, please. Just the number.
6, I believe it's
Building C and D, 2 buildings.
14 buildings. 10 units in building D, 10 units in this building. 4
Thank you.
units in this building.
Well, that's not my question. Is how many dwelling units? We're talking about 14 dwelling units?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you do agree that this is prohibited. Dwelling units are prohibited in this particular light industrial zone. Correct? This is the engineer.
I believe, other than the exception allowing, as
That's not
already,
what I asked you. Dwelling units are prohibited.
dwelling units are permitted, but this concept of 14 would need special permit. But a dwelling unit is allowed, and David Solkis can correct me if that statement's.
I'm correct. I'm correcting you right now. Under 310.5, dwelling units are not permitted there. They're only permitted for a caretaker. And you tell me where the caretaker is going to live in any one of these 14 units, please.
I would like David,
I don't want David. I'm asking you the question, sir. Please answer the question.
that would be up to the owner to make that decision. I am not qualified to tell him how he's going to use his property. I'm sorry.
Okay. And can you tell us why you put this forward so soon when we have a city engineer's report dated August 10th of 2021 that says you've not complied with a substantial problem in this plans? Why did you put it forward today? Why don't you wait until you get the answers for the city engineer appropriately, like we do in every other application?
1 second, sir. This is a portion of a memo received from the city engineer today. And in this memo, he says that he finds.
Okay, let me stop you, sir. Did you provide that to us before we heard this hearing?
No, sir, there was a.
Okay, then there's nothing we can consider. We don't have it. We don't see it. We don't know it. I'd ask you not to share it. I'm just suggesting that you better get a report from the fire department and you get a better report from the engineer that we have for our record to be able to read it. It's unfair to us to have you come before us, to have a public hearing and ask us to look at materials we've never seen before tonight. I'd ask you to consider that. I have no further comments at this point or questions at this point, Mr. Quish.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions or comments from the board?
Just a comment. I find the idea of like artisan village interesting, but I am concerned about precedent set and the LI zone. So speaking for myself, I need a little time to consider what impact that might have going forward.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else from the board?
Mr. Chairman, are we still in a public hearing?
This is a public hearing. Once the board finishes now, we'll go to the public. And then after the public doesn't want to participate anymore, we'll let the applicant
Well, Mr.
speak
Chairman,
again, and then we'll have other chances to talk though.
okay, well, Mr. Chairman, I was going to move to table it so that all the information, the items can be cleared up and the public has that ahead of time and we have it ahead of time.
Okay.
Okay? I mean, should I make that now or should I?
Yeah, no, that's fine. I mean, before we go to look for public comment, if you feel that you'd like to have these things straightened out so the public has them before we open up the hearing, that's fine.
I would. So I'll move to table this item.
Okay.
Second, Mr. Chair.
Is that David, is that the right language?
To table this,
Yeah.
you can table it. And if you want to give guidance as to you're tabling it because you need time to read either new information, just letting you know that we did add the city engineer's updated report, into the file today.
All right. So we haven't had it for
Right.
the weekend prior to, which is our requirement.
Do you perhaps want to have any public input in case there's other questions that may come up?
No, we'll table it now and we'll get a full file in front of us for the next meeting, and then the public will have its chance. And if they find more stuff, then we'll get that stuff answered as well.
Okay.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second from Mr. Sadi.
Okay. Meg, if you would please call the roll.
Sorry.
Okay.
Miss Austin,
With the motion.
Mr. Casagnoli,
Yes.
Mr. Cater,
With the motion.
Mr. Collegian,
With the motion.
Ms. Kearney,
With the motion.
Mr. Mortimer,
With the motion.
Mr. Sadi,
With the motion.
and Chairman Quish.
I'm with the motion also.
Thank you.
I guess the direction is fairly clear from Mr. Sadi's comments that, complete approvals and a complete file will be in your best interest. And that was directed to the applicant. And hopefully you'll have everything ready for our next meeting.
Thank you very much.
Our next order of business is another public hearing, 1646 Boston Post Road, petition of Permit Advisors, Inc. for special exception for an urgent care medical clinic at map 109, block 804, parcel 9, of which BLR Realty is the owner. The applicant has the floor.
Good evening, everybody. This is Matt Sanderleaf with Go Health Urgent Care. I appreciate you all taking the time out tonight. We come to you for your approval at 1646 Boston Post Road for a special exception to have urgent care. I work for Hartford Healthcare, Go Health Urgent Care. I'm going to try and.
I don't mean to interrupt, but if you could just, I know you stated your name, state your name and address for the record.
My home address or the address for the location?
Meg, are you happy with, how do you want to write it?
If you could just maybe give me the corporate address where you.
555 Glen Ridge Connector, Atlanta,
you.
Georgia.
Okay.
Thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no problem. I'm going to try and share my screen here. I have a little presentation to take you through, just a little bit about us. So Hartford Healthcare, Go Health Urgent Care. We're partnership with Hartford Healthcare, 50% ownership. We've developed actually 20 urgent care centers in the Hartford area between Hartford and New London and Enfield, Connecticut. And we're looking to add our center here in Milford, Connecticut. Go Health is responsible for the implementation and day-to-day operations, and Hartford Healthcare is responsible for the clinical operations. What you'll find in our centers, you'll have 1 to 2 physicians or ED experienced PAs, 1 rad tech, 1 medical assistant. We offer x-rays, COVID testing, strep, flu. We have a lab to do blood testing, cultures, and phlebotomy services. Our typical hours are 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Friday, and 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Saturday and Sunday. We typically see anywhere from 3 to 5 patients an hour. And a key component of our design, part of what differentiates us in the market is our design and our center. And we're excited to, with your approval, to join the Milford community. So here's our floor plan for the site, and I have a zoomed in version so you can see a little bit better. But what I do want to point out here is that the space, which formerly was a beauty salon, 3,400 square feet, we're actually only building out 2,460. And here's a zoomed in of our floor plan. And I should mention before I continue, the architect from MCG and my permit advisor who's been handling all of the communication through the town and us is also on the line to answer any questions. So if there is specific questions about the application or the design or any of that, they are here to answer those questions. So here you'll see this is our floor plan, what we've drawn for the location. We have 4 exam rooms, 2 bathrooms, a break room, a lab, and as I said, that back area of storage. Some of our design elements, as I mentioned, a couple other things there. Medical waste is secured within our center, carted by a private contracted service, and we do not carry any narcotics. One of the things that I had mentioned before that differentiates us is our Clockwise queuing system. So it regulates the flow of patients by offering appointments and also visibility into our neighboring centers, so that if they can't, if the wait time is too long, they can go to another center. It allows people to walk in to be given notifications when to come back, so they could go over to the Whole Foods if they wanted, or go back home. And it gives us the ability to manage our wait times and prevent that morning rush or that evening rush, and really stabilize the people coming in to our centers throughout the day. This is just an example of what our Clockwise queuing system looks like. You could find this on our website. And it'll tell you when available times are, how long the waits are at other centers. And it's been a really great tool all the time, but particularly during these times with the global pandemic. So here's a couple of things that people have said about us, and I do want to highlight that our Net Promoter Score, if you're not familiar with that, it's a way that businesses get feedback from their customers and how successful we are at offering care and a great patient experience. So 82 is really towards the top of any of the corporate structure, and we're really proud of that number. And that's for 2021. So as I had alluded to, the global pandemic has obviously strained everybody in the medical field, but be able to maintain happy customers and patients is really number one for us. So with all of that said, I wanted to give you a little history, but really open it up to any questions and answer any concerns you might have about our use. Hopefully, we are approved.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, go ahead, Joe.
Dave, why is a special exception required if he's going from like a hair salon to an urgent care center?
As urgent care centers, we consider professional offices. We don't
Okay.
have, and we don't have that use recognized in that zone.
Okay, and where is this? I know it's on the post road. What specifically,
It's
where
in-
is?
I was going to say, this is the Whole Foods Plaza.
That is the Whole Foods Plaza. Okay. And there's a hair salon there, and where's the hair salon in relation to, I don't know, Joseph Bank, the Asian restaurant? Where is it in that plaza?
This is to the right of Joseph Bank, sort of when you're coming in the main driveway. I think it's slightly to the left. If you were to drive straight into the building, it's slightly to the left, I believe.
Correct. That's exactly where we are.
Okay, so the special exception is required because we're going for a special use there, a use that's not there anymore. Do we?
Yeah,
allow-
well, it's not, it's one of those ones that's not specifically called out as permitted, and it's not specifically called out as not permitted. We run into this now and again where it's something we never thought, but whoever, when they made this, was it CDD 1?
This is CDD 5.
Oh, CDD 5, I mean, they didn't think that there was gonna be medical uses.
Or any professional uses. You know,
Yeah.
they thought it was is regional retail. That's what the zone was designed for.
What was next to Paul's Hamburgers, that building, that's a medical building? What is that portion of the post road?
That's CDD 1, I believe.
Okay.
And I just would like to add that, you know, part of our design and the way we're approaching medical care is to be where you live and work. And that's highlighted in exactly what you guys are talking about, how the zoning may not recognize that we would be there. But we want to be where you shop for groceries, and we want you to have easy access to medical care. And that's why we're putting and looking at, if you look at our other locations across Connecticut, that's exactly where we are. We're in the shopping centers with the grocery store, because that's where it's convenient for people to go and see a doctor.
Have we allowed this, Dave? Have we allowed this anywhere else in Milford?
Yeah, we have a couple of urgent care centers. There's one on Cherry Street. Yeah, there's one there, freestanding. And then I think that may be the only one. Again, this is a
Well, there's urgent care on the corner of Siemens Lane and Bridgeport Ave.
There you go. So, yeah, we do. Yeah. So, yes, we do.
All right, okay. Are they in a shopping center as this would be?
The one on
one's
Cherry Street.
freestanding.
Yeah, it's freestanding as part of the old ShopRite center on Cherry Street.
Okay.
Orange has one, right as you go into the Orange Plaza up by David's Bridal and stuff, they have one in a shopping center,
Yeah.
a little shopping center.
Yeah, we're gonna see more of these. And there are other applications just like this that are coming down the road that you'll be seeing.
Well, to the applicant, don't you have an urgent care center just down the street in the plaza that has Bob's in it?
So we do not. This is our first urgent care in and around Milford.
Okay.
We're connected with Hartford Healthcare. That one, I think the one you might be talking about, I'm just pulling it up, I think is Docs.
No.
No, Docs is in orange. Docs is in orange.
Oh,
What he's
right.
referring to is more, that's not really an urgent care, the one in ShopRite. I believe that's a satellite office for it's part of Hartford Healthcare, like St. Vincent's. it's an option. I think there's actually like you can go for like a doctor's appointment in there. It's not so much an urgent
Right.
care. I understand the concept of what you're doing with the Go Health, because it's a similar concept. And I understand the differences, but of like a docs type thing where you can go in if you have to have, you know, a COVID test or, you know, different things. So I do understand, but they are a little bit different, I think, from the one that's at Cherry.
And just for historical knowledge, the one on Cherry, when it was approved, was actually an urgent care. It's changed, obviously, based on what you're telling us, but originally that was an urgent care.
Okay.
Different zone though.
A different zone, yes.
I have some questions for the
Yeah, go
applicant,
ahead.
if I could.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Quish. To the applicant, the concept looks fantastic. The presentation is good. It looks like everything's got the date stamps, but I have a couple of questions on what followed up on board member Austin, board member Castagnoli. Normally, the urgent cares have an area that is not congested by the parking. So I'm familiar with that area. That parking lot is hard to find a parking spot. And if you could just address the issues of how your patients are going to be getting in and out of there, because you really can't block off parking spots for your patients, I suspect. If you can just comment on that a little bit, then I have a question about if there's an emergency issue such as getting ambulance and like in there. So let's talk about the first question, if you could, please.
Yeah, as I said, this is our approach in and across Connecticut, that we're in shopping centers and busy shopping centers. And that's because that's where people live and work, and it's convenient to get in and out. So that if you are coming into our space, you can go to the supermarket, vice versa. We haven't experienced any issues with, that relationship with a shopping center. Parking is always at a premium, but there is high turnover for our use. Our door-to-door times are about 20 minutes. So we're able to get, people in and out of our center, much quicker than, some of the other stores that may be there. So we haven't had any issues where we feel like, oh, this is bad for our patients, because of that. They appreciate the convenience of the location over, parking.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And then, so I can see the portion of your document that is on our screen. Now I've got two computers running, but to the rear of that property, there is I imagine for supplies and like for the rest of the business. What's your plan if you needed to get one of your patients to an ambulance and out of the area? Just comment on how that would occur. Do you plan to maybe use the back way? Do you have access to the back way? Do you use the front way? Or you don't anticipate that ever happening?
No, I think it would be unrealistic to say it would never happen. I mean, we're a medical facility. Typically the way that we handle it is through the front door. The ambulance would pull up, and we see, very low ED admission rates, out of our center, but it does happen where an ambulance has to pull up. And our typical is to take them out the front door. If that is a concern, we can look into taking them out the back door. I don't have objections to that. It's just, we would talk to our operational staff on how best to care for the patient and remove them. And then when an ambulance is dispatched, they arrive, we can tell them to go around the back of the building if that's what, is requested.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And I do have a question for Mr. Sulkus, the planner, if I could, through the chair to Mr. Sulkus. In our package, we have your administrative summary, which we will probably get to at some point, but could you explain why there's not an engineer's report and a police report and a fire department report?
Sure. Because we have an already built facility here. When we look at the type of use this is, say we call this a professional office, the professional office has the same parking ratios as retail, and this is mainly a retail center. So functionally, there's no change to the site that would require any of those reviews. So that's why you don't
the answer, and it kind of comes about as of the first hearing we heard today. So we're not concerned about sprinklers. We're not concerned about water hookups. Those are already existing. Whatever is found in this particular space would be covered by that. Is that correct?
Correct.
I thank you very much. I have no further questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Okay,
Go ahead, Joe.
yeah, I'd like to ask the applicant, have you okayed this with the lessor, the person who owns the property and is renting to you?
Of course, they are well aware of our use and are in favor of it. Obviously, they wouldn't have signed a lease with us if they hadn't approved it. So
Okay, so they've already signed a lease. How long is that lease?
off the top of my head, it's 10 years with extensions, but the minimum we sign is 10 years.
And they signed that lease with no restrictions, like, if you needed an ambulance, it would be in the back, not in the front. There were no
No.
exceptions to that lease.
No requirements for the lease in that capacity.
Okay.
All right,
'Cause
thank you.
Yeah, my concern would be that if you had an ambulance in the front, that, you have cars going around it, you have all types of traffic in that center. You have numerous businesses, and I don't know how an ambulance, could get in and out of there easily.
Well, and I'm not trying to like play devil's advocate or anything like that, but you actually have Orange Theory in there, which could constitute probably, I would say, probably more ambulance visits than sometimes, I'm just saying, I'm playing devil's advocate here, and they're closer to Whole Foods where, there's a lot more activity, and there is ample ways to get around an ambulance in there and traffic flow, because you have the main entrance, but you do have a side entrance too, over by Plan B that exits out,
Okay.
over there as well too. So I'm not saying one way or the other. I'm just, the flow of traffic, same with like if they had an occurrence at Cherry Street, there's still two ways in and out of Cherry Street, so I'm just trying to, again, I'm not saying one way or the other. I'm just throwing it out there.
Okay, keep in mind that, this plaza, I'd say is recent, except that when I say that, I realize I've been here a long time. Being built within the last 20 years, it was thoroughly reviewed, by our emergency services and our fire department at the time it was built. And, they take all that into consideration when they do their review of the site plan. And that's, usually when we get a report from the fire department, that's, what they're looking at. Can they get fire trucks in? And if they can get a fire truck in, and if they can service the building with a fire truck, they can definitely get an ambulance in there and service the building. Because it's been there for 20 years, guaranteed ambulances have been called to various stores at various times under various circumstances to no ill effect that I'm aware of.
Great. Any other questions or comments from the board? Okay, seeing none.
I'm sorry. I just have one quick question. I'm sorry. Exactly how many exam rooms are in there? I'm sorry. Did you say that?
Yeah, that's okay. It's 4 exam rooms.
4. Okay. Thank you.
A quick question. Typically in front of businesses, there's a fire lane, isn't there? Wouldn't there, an ambulance could use that if they're picking somebody up?
I think on that site, at least for a good portion of the frontage there are actually parking spaces.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Right,
so
yeah.
just to give a little more detail, there are 2 lanes of traffic in front of our space. It's not, just one lane. The parking spaces are just to the right of us and end before our space. So there's not like if an ambulance pulled up, it wouldn't be blocking any cars. And there's a second lane of traffic that could get around an ambulance.
You don't have a diagram of the parking lot, do you?
I can
get one.
Hold on. I can pull something up. Hold on.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
And I've been looking at it through my second computer.
I'm doing the same.
Well, that picture didn't work out well. Let me find something else here. Hold on. bear with me while I try to turn the page here, which is not turning. Hold on. Let's try this again. Sorry about this. I'm having a little trouble with my blue beam here, so let me try it a different way. Okay. Would you like me to start humming like I used to do? Okay, let's go.
Did you learn any new tunes? That's the question.
No new tunes. They're the same old tunes. Okay, so let's go here.
Well, we can continue the discussion around this while
Okay.
David's looking.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions that we want to broach as he's trying to get the site plan up? Go ahead, Jim.
It's not really a question, but I do kind of like the concept of putting this where people are. Lots of times things are so isolated and then they're inconvenient. So I mean, you brought up where you're sitting there waiting. If they tell you to wait and you go into Whole Foods, come back. I mean, it's kind of a cool idea personally. I like that.
Okay, cool. And so here is this is
So here's where it's located. So you come in the main entrance and you come around and it's there.
It doesn't show where the parking spaces are though.
This is parking here. And there's parking here. This is the bump out.
Okay, it's just not lying there.
Yeah. I was looking for a better picture, but
No, that's okay. Does that answer the question that was asked?
Yeah, so bottom line, there is no fire lane.
yeah, there's no, right.
Yeah, there is none. Okay, any other further comments or questions from the board? We'll get another chance to ask questions. I would though now open it up to the public if everybody's okay with that, and then we'll come back to our questions after. Okay, so this is a public hearing. I would invite anyone from the public who would like to speak on the issue to either wave your hand. David will be the concierge. You can wave your hand, or there's a way to electronically indicate that you'd like to speak. If you would, please state your name and address for the board and keep your comments to around 3 minutes.
Okay, Mr. Chair, I do not see anyone waving their hand in their picture. I do not see anyone raising an electronic hand to be recognized. So I'm scanning, going once. I do not see anyone waving their hand or raising a hand. Going twice, there is no one. Mr. Chair, there is apparently no one who would like to speak on this.
Very good. Okay, so does anyone see a reason why we should not close the public hearing? Okay, seeing none, then we will close the public hearing. The applicant, you're entitled to sort of close your presentation, and then we will, as we go, maybe have more questions.
I think I covered everything. I thank you all for your time. And if there's more questions, David, you have my contact information. Please feel free to reach out to me.
Yeah, and Mr. Chair, if the board has more questions, you should ask them while the public hearing is open.
Well, we closed the public hearing for a minute ago. So I mean, yeah.
Okay. I missed that for whatever reason.
Yeah. We could have a motion, and then we could still have discussion on the motion outside of the public
discussion on the
hearing.
motion, correct.
Yeah. So at this point then, I would hear a motion.
Wait for Mr. Castagnoli. Thank you.
Go ahead, Joe. And with your mute off, though.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve as presented the petition of Permit Advisors, Inc. for a special exception for an urgent care medical clinic at map 109, block 804, parcel 9, of which BLR Realty Company is the owner.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Nancy, so I saw her. Motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion?
That here, I'd like to make a brief comment on it.
Sure.
I really appreciate the work that was done by the applicant. The plans meet the accord what we need to see to be able to work on something that's unique and a new concept in Milford. You must be complimented and applauded for that. I agree that there might be some issues that we can see. Board member Austin talked about it, but I don't see any reason why we should not approve it tonight. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any other discussion on the motion? Okay, seeing none. Meg, if you would please call the roll.
Okay. Ms. Austin,
With the motion.
Mr. Castagnoli,
Yes.
Mr. Cater,
With the motion,
Mr. Collegian,
With the motion.
Ms. Kearney,
With the motion,
Mr. Mortimer,
With the motion.
Mr. Sadi,
Motion.
and Chairman Quish.
I'm with the motion.
Thank you.
Motion passes. Matthew, thank you for your presentation and good luck with your project.
Thank you all.
Next is old business. I don't see any liaison reports. Mr. Sadi, anything?
Not yet, Mr. Question. Our meeting will be later this month if we have one.
Subcommittee reports, we did as a POCD committee choose one of the respondents, and David is in the process of doing some vetting of them, calling some other cities that they work for to make sure they've had good experiences before we go into contract. The regulation subcommittee, hopefully we will have a meeting in December. Can we have a motion to approve the minutes of 10/19?
I'm gonna abstain because I wasn't there.
Okay. Jim? Do you want to make a motion?
I wasn't there as well.
Okay. So
I move to approve.
okay, John. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and then 2 abstentions. Okay. All right, chair's report. I want to congratulate the members that were up for election yesterday for their victories, and express sadness that Peggy did not choose to run, and we're gonna miss her. But we got you for another month and a half, so
there you go.
so
I'll be
that'll have to be enough, and then we can invite you to speak on issues as we
Okay,
go
I'll come.
forward. All
Sounds
right.
good.
Staff report.
Mr. Chair, before we get there, could we have some questions to the chair, please?
Go ahead.
Thank you. Again, I'd like to acknowledge the loss of Peggy, but she'll be in our hearts and minds and she can watch us on Zoom. It's good to see all the other board members, but the question I have for you is, I've asked it a couple of times, what is the plan for training? Are we going to have at least one new board member on? Do we have something coming up in the new year? I'd like to get that moving forward because there are substantial changes in the law that we talked about several months ago. So I just ask us not to forget that, please. Thank you very much.
Very good. And we didn't actually get it on the agenda. I asked for it to be on the agenda, though, to discuss meetings in person as opposed to Zoom. David, could you speak to what the other boards are doing and what the health department is recommending?
I have not gotten an update from the health department because I forgot that you asked. So I apologize for that. The one other board that I have interaction with is the Zoning Board of Appeals. that had been in person. They'd gone back to in-person meetings, and they have gone back to Zoom meetings because they have trouble hearing people in the Board of Alderman chambers, because the city still requires anyone entering the city building to be wearing a mask. So if people are attending the meetings, the public has to wear masks, and they were having trouble hearing and understanding them. So for that reason, they went back to Zoom. That's
So,
all I can tell you.
so I'm not quite sure how the Board of Aldermen then are holding and doing their meetings, because I've watched it on MGAT and they seem to be
Yes.
just fine and have had large audiences, very large, at a couple meetings. So I'm not quite sure why we can't go back to in person.
I'm not saying you can do one or the other. I'm just telling you what the city policy is regarding the buildings.
I understand what you're saying. And I've also, I've seen Board of Ed back in person, Board of Aldermen back in person. Let's face it, how often do we get something in front of us? I mean, what we're dealing with right now, you might have 4 people coming in front of us. I mean, it's time to go back. And that's my opinion. Take it for what it's worth, but you have bigger meetings with a lot more people in the Board of Alderman chambers, and they've had successful meetings.
Okay, anyone else want to weigh in?
Just that I personally would like a hybrid available to us, a hybrid meeting. For instance, in December, I'll be on the road. I wouldn't be able to attend. But if we had the capability to also go with Zoom, that would be helpful. So.
Here, I think that we should definitely make sure it's at the very top of the agenda or somewhere close to it. I don't suggest have an opinion one way or the other yet, but I think that Member Austin's voice is important to be heard, but it's also important to see her and see everybody if we want to. And I think we should get that on the agenda, have a full discussion. We should have all members of the board back for that meeting, hopefully.
David, what is the status of hybrid potential?
I believe it has been, my understanding is it has been temporarily stalled. We were working with the MGAT. It involved some technological upgrades that would be put into City Hall. And I think Joe from Joe's phone just popped on, because I know he was also working with the mayor's office and trying to coordinate those efforts. So perhaps he has some added information for us.
Well, just to, I guess, reiterate or reinforce what Dave just said, the city is not pursuing developing a hybrid system. I mean, I think we know what the technology involved would require. It's pretty expensive. It would require both the time and the expense to get the technology put in place, but then also it's just a question of, I think, just the confusion that might be created by a hybrid meeting is of concern also.
I don't get that, to be honest with you.
You mean in terms of the technology, or in terms of just the confusion?
I mean, you have a screen with the capacity to have a laptop. So it could be a Zoom meeting where whoever wants to be there and have their Zoom meeting in person, they do that. There's the hybrid solution with no technology.
That's what we thought. And then we sat down and reviewed it with
a laptop can get on that screen, correct?
Understood.
Okay.
What became very clear is the technological requirements for doing that in the city hall. And again, the term that was thrown out is your sound would get thrown into an infinite loop. In other words, you would be recording sound upon sound upon the same sound. And so that's essentially what had to be corrected with the technology. And so that is what, again, our initial thought was, hey, this is a simple, just like you're saying, a simple solution of essentially utilizing the city hall as a participant in a Zoom meeting. And then it was spelled out that with the cameras, with the ability to display the graphics on the screens in the city hall, it would create this technological problem, not insurmountable, but again, would require the hardware to do it.
Very disappointing, very discouraging. But anyway,
If I can just-
David, let's please put this on the agenda for the next meeting. And hopefully we'll get everybody to attend and to get everybody's input, and we'll have a vote on it, and the vote will be what it is. Yeah, I apologize that it didn't get on. I did double check it at the end of the week last week that it was on the agenda. My bad. But let's make sure it is on the agenda for next meeting, and it will be something that we discuss and have a vote.
Just to let you know, I'm putting it in on the draft right now as we speak.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other staff report?
None this evening.
On this evening. Okay, go motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you all.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Good night,
Good
everybody.
night.
Bye.